Hello, my name is Susanne Crane, and I'm going to tell you a story. Many years ago, our family was traveling out west to the Black Hills, and we decided to stop in the Badlands to camp. And we got there pretty late at night. It was after dark, and we couldn't see any of the beautiful striations in the rock or anything like that, but we decided to set up our tent in a remote campsite. And we had one of those little pop-up tents that you just kind of like pull them up and they just pop out, and then you just stake them down. And my husband went to pay the fee, and he said he'd probably sleep in the car. So my daughter and I got out our sleeping bags and pillows, and we set up a cute little space in there and laid down, and were about to fall asleep when we heard this very strange buzzing. It was sort of between like a large insect and then some kind of a hiss. It's very hard to make that noise as a human, but it was something like this. It was like something like that. And that really wasn't quite right, but we'll go with that. It just kept on, and it was right on the other side of the thin nylon tent. It was extremely loud and incessant. And my daughter, who was about 8 or 9 at the time, said, "I just want to hit the tent, scare it, and make it go away." And I said, "Well, you could do that, but we're really the people that are the invaders. We're in its territory, and it's angry, obviously. What if we put our tent on top of its little house, its the little opening, maybe it lives underground or something, and or what if it just usually sleeps right where we sleep, on the ground, and it's just like, you can't have that spot. That's my spot." And she said, "Yeah, right." She just pretty much instantaneously fell asleep. So it wasn't really that much of a problem for her, as tired as she was. But I lay there for a minute and fell asleep with the buzzing still happening. And then the next morning we woke up and the sun was out and we could see the beautiful rock. And we just packed up very quickly and got on the road because we were heading towards the Black Hills. And along the way, there was a sign that said, "Reptile Gardens, see the 120-year-old tortoise." And I was so excited. I really wanted to see that. So I convinced my husband to stop. He was more of a A to B person, and I kind of like to meander. But I won this one, and we stopped there. And when you go in, you would go immediately through this very darkened room with a lot of terrariums that had snakes in them. And I came up just right up to a green mamba that was staring at me with these cold yellow eyes. And it just looked really mean. It seemed to be saying, if I could, I would definitely kill you. So that was kind of spooky. But then we went through there and we went out, and there was this area where the tortoise was out, and it was kind of sad because there was a family that had put their kid on top of the tortoise and were trying to take pictures, and the tortoise looked really frustrated, like it was trying to go away and try to go somewhere quiet. And I felt bad for it, and I wished that it could be back on the Galapagos Islands or wherever they took it from. But we meandered around a little bit and ended up in this sort of it was sort of like an amphitheater. It was outdoors, and there were some people sitting, in several spots about halfway up. And so my daughter and I, we went and we sat in the first row low, and it said that there was something that was about to happen in like 5 minutes. And we thought we would check it out. So before very long, a tall, slender park ranger wearing the full uniform with the wide, flat-brimmed hat walks in with these tall boots on and is carrying like a long stick and these gloves over her arm, just kind of draped over her arm, and then something that looked kind of like a cat carrier. So like the pole and the gloves and then the cat carrying the other arm, and just walking like she really meant business. And she set that, the cat carrier had like a blanket over it, and she set that down on a table and then looked at us all and looked at my daughter and I and said, "You two, move up." And we obeyed. We immediately moved up like 3 rows. And then she started to pace back and forth and said, "The animal I'm about to show you is the most common animal in the Badlands. And it is also very dangerous and venomous." And she whipped the blanket off of the cage and started to put the gloves on. And all of a sudden we heard that same buzz hissing noise that we heard right on the other side of our tent last night. And she took the long pole and she started to test it, and like she would move something back and forth and a loop would come out the end of it. And then as soon as she had her gloves on and tested the loop, she opened up the front of the cage and really quickly stuck the pole in and pulled out this thick sand-colored huge snake and kind of tossed it over a few feet away from her, and it curled up immediately and was making that noise. And I just sat there stunned for a moment and then looked at my daughter, who had gone ashen and her lips were completely white. And I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I'm just really glad that I didn't hit the tent." That's my story of near peril, and I hope you enjoyed it. And that story, along with 11 others, are in my new book. This is a Minnesota State Arts Board grant, and there's 12 stories. My students had been asking me to write down my stories for a long time, for about 20 years. Finally did it, yay! I'd also like to thank Elijah Marine for great design, and I'm so excited to have this available now. This will be available in bookstores and libraries, and I will be selling them as well. Again, thank you to the Minnesota State Arts Board. This would have never happened without you. Bye now.